Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining me once again today, and welcome to Master of Magic. This is one of the great old classic strategy games, before Masters of Orion 2, before most of the Civilization series. Actually, I think possibly before even Civilization 2, which was when the series really took off. There was Master of Magic. This game was made by Simtex in 94 or 95. I don't remember which at the moment. And it is, I think, possibly the first Fantasy 4X on PC, at least the first one that became widespread. In it, you command a wizard who is leading a nation to try and take over the world. Actually, two worlds, two linked planes of Arcanos and Mira. And we are about to do just that. So let's start a game. I've already got my settings, set. I am on hard difficulty as opposed to impossible, because, frankly, for people who are not very experienced with it, this game is kind of hard. And impossible difficulty gives the computer players ridiculous advantages. I mean, they get, if I'm not mistaken, they get 4 times your gold, income, and growth and food. So I prefer hard. That gives them a significant advantage, but not nearly as big. I have 4 opponents, which is the maximum number. I have lots of land because I like large maps, and magic is of normal power. You can make magic better or worse, but I like normal. I think it's a good balance. So, you can select from one of the pre-made wizards. I don't like to do that. I am going to make a custom wizard because I enjoy customizing, and I'm going to pick this portrait because I like it. I like it better than the other. Merlin is pretty good. Merlin's pretty cool. So is Tauron. Actually, I may go with Tauron. Nah, I'm going to stick with Rajak. I like him. And of course, General Confusion will not fit in the text box, but Confusion will. So we are going to name our wizard Confusion. Now, when you're making your wizard, you have a whole bunch of choices to make. You have 11 picks, options. You can pick them, you can put them into spell books in one of the various schools, and the more spell books you have, the more spells will be available from that school. There are a maximum of 40 spells in each school. Which spells are available to you are randomly selected, and the number that are randomly selected for you is dependent on the number of books you have in a given school. So, I am going to pick 7 books in Death. And which Death is not necessarily the most powerful school. Probably the most powerful school here is Life, actually. And you can't have any Life if you have Death. But I like Death. Death has some really cool tricks it can pull, some very useful low-level spells, and some very powerful high-level spells. So I'm going to go with it. I have 4 picks left. 3 of them are going to go to the Mirren special. This lets me start on basically an alternate reality, where I have access to a bunch of other races that normal people don't have access to. It's a tougher place to start, but it gives you it gives you the ability to have some really cool special powers and special combinations, as well as a little bit more mana. And my last pick is going to go to, I considered charismatic, because heroes are actually really valuable, and charismatic gets you better heroes. But instead, I am going to take Alchemy, which lets me swap gold for mana at an even exchange rate instead of 1 for 2, like most people have to. And it also gives all of my units magical weapons automatically, which is an okay advantage. So that's my wizard, Confusion. He is a Mirren alchemist with all of his magic soaked up into Death, and now I get to pick my spells. I get 6 common spells to start off with. Skeletons, which summons a cheap, low-level undead unit. Ghouls, which summons a better unit that can turn other units into the undead when they are killed. Dark Rituals, which causes unrest and lowers population growth, but gives me more mana. Cloak of Fear, which makes a unit fear-inspiring, so basically enemy units have to make a resistance roll in order to attack them. Black Sleep, which makes a unit fall unconscious and means they can't take any actions, and any attacks against them do maximum damage. That's very important. Mana Leak, which drains mana away from enemy spellcasters. Darkness, which buffs undead units. Terror, which makes the whole enemy army have to make a resistance roll or cower in fear. Life Drain, which sucks away life and gives me mana. So those are all the common spells. Those are all I get at the start. I don't get the uncommon or rare spells yet. I'm going to take away Life Drain because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Life Drain actually doesn't work very well because of the way it's calculated. And I'm going to take Cloak of Fear instead. I'm going to keep Weakness, Black Sleep, and Dark Rituals and Ghouls. I'm also going to keep Darkness. Skeletons would be a nice spell, but I don't need it at the start. Skeletons are not that much better than standard units. For my races, I can take an Arcanian race, but I'd rather take a Mirren race. The Mirren races are special, and the race that I'm going to pick is the Trolls. I'll go through them all. Beastmen get extra mana. Dark Elves grow slowly, but have some very powerful ranged and spellcaster units you can create. Draconians can fly, which is a huge advantage. Dwarves get double money. They can't build some units, but they get extra production. And Trolls, who I'm going to pick, grow very slowly and lose out on a bunch of buildings, but all of their units are very powerful and regenerate, which is especially important for me, and I'll explain why. I'm going to be purple, because purple is my favorite color. Okay, so here we are in Mira, and we are at our beginning city of Generalton. Generalton. There we go. So, let's look at our troll units first of all. This is what you see when you start off the game. You have this little map. These icons mean forests. These are plains. That's some animals, which gives me extra food, I believe, and some mountains, which give me extra production. So this is actually a pretty good place. Incidentally, you can press F1 to go into the Surveyor, which means you can scan over all the places and see what bonuses they give you. So the hills give half food plus 3% production, forests are the same, desert gives plus 3% production, grasslands gives you extra food, wild game gives you 2 points of extra food. These hills have adamantium ore, which gives you plus 2 magic power, that's an unexplored dungeon, mountains give you plus 5% production, etc. It's pretty cool. So, unit-wise, here's some Troll Swordsmen. So, Trolls have high melee attack, lots of extra hit points. Most standard units have only 1 hit point each. Troll Swordsmen have 4. Okay armor, basically the same as anybody else. The main cool things about them are, they have the higher melee attack, and they have regeneration. So every combat phase, they regenerate a hit point every turn, and at the end of combat, they are completely healed. In fact, even if a unit dies, if you win, they come back to life, completely healed at the end of combat. So you don't actually have to worry about losing units as the Trolls, you only have to worry about losing battles. Now, these Troll Swordsmen, you may notice there are 4 in this picture. That's because Troll units have 4 models per unit. Most other races, which are smaller, have 6 models per unit. That's important because each model in combat makes an attack. So a Troll Swordsman unit's attack is basically 4 times 6. They get 4 attacks at, 5. They get 4 attacks, each of which has a strength of 5, whereas, say, a standard human swordsman unit would only have a strength of 3, but they would get 6 attacks. Now, that sounds like it's not much of a difference. It actually is a significant difference because of the way combat is calculated. Higher numbers here are almost always more valuable than more models here. But that's complicated. There's a lot of... The way combat is done is very kind of calculation intensive, and sometimes it doesn't give you the intuitive results. But generally, it's more valuable to have better units as opposed to more units. A more powerful unit can often take out several times its number in weaker, more numerous units. Also, as they're swordsmen, as all swordsmen do, they have a large shield, which makes them more resilient against ranged attacks. These are Troll Spearmen. They have a weaker attack, but they only take food to upkeep instead of food and gold. So, you can see at the moment I have 50 gold and no magic. In the magic tab, I can control where my mana goes. It is divided into 3 categories. Mana, filling up my mana pool. Research, which is researching the next spell that I've chosen to research. And skill, increasing my casting skill. Basically, when these numbers, every turn I'm currently dedicating 4 to it, every time this goes up to equal my current casting skill, which is 14, my casting skill will go up 1 point. And the casting skill governs how much mana you can spend in any given turn. So currently I can only spend 14 mana a turn, which means if I have a summoning spell that costs more mana than 14, it will take me multiple turns to cast it. Right now I'm going to go to 0 research. I'm going to spike my mana and my skill both up. I'm going to put 8 in mana and 6 in skill. I do need my skill to go up, but it's more important right now that I have mana. Actually, I'm going to go 9 and 5. Okay, we can see over here the spells that I know. I have 1 city spell, Dark Rituals, and 2 summoning spells. Ghouls, which is the summoning spell that I picked, and Magic Spirit, which is a summoning spell that everybody gets at the beginning of the game. You can summon a Magic Spirit, which can meld with magic nodes, and get you some mana income from them. In my town here, you can see, I have 4 guys, 3 farmers and 1 worker. They are producing quite a bit of food, actually. This is a good food-intensive location. And some production. I have some money here. This is gold that is going to maintain the town. This is gold that I get. Similarly, this is food that is going to maintain the villagers. And this is excess food. This is my mana income. It's pretty high because I am on Mirror. If I was on Arcanos, it would tend to be lower. Since I have extra food, the first thing I might do is I might recruit some more spearmen. They only cost food to upkeep. And they're actually pretty decent units for trolls. It's a choice between doing spearmen first or doing a granary first. Let's actually get the granary first. It gives me extra food and it increases my growth, which is very important. That will take 7 turns to produce. I'm going to switch one of my farmers over to a worker to cut down on production time. That levels me out on gold and food. What I can do now is I can change my tax rate. My tax collector, currently I am at 1 gold per population, which is 20% unrest. However, since my town is small, I can afford to jack taxes up. So I'm going to go to 2 gold per population. I still don't have any unrest, especially because my units are still here. But I'm now making some money, which is great. So, we are going to leave the spearman here, but we're going to take the swordsman and move him out to do some exploring. You can see I do now have a rebel now. Maybe I'll turn taxes down. Maybe I'll go down to 1.5. I still have a rebel. What if I go down to 1 gold? Okay, now I don't have the rebel, so now at least my production is back. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it there for now. So my spearman is going to stay here just to make sure nothing terrible happens to my town without me having a chance to do something about it. And my swordsman is going to go out and explore. Research doesn't matter at the moment because I'm not spending any mana on researching. But I'm going to point towards skeletons, which are a basic, really cheap summoning spell. You are going to patrol. You move into that lair. There are sprites inside that dungeon, so no, I don't wish to enter. Sprites are a flying unit. My melee unit here cannot attack flying units, so even if I moved in, the sprites would just kind of get to shoot at me, and I don't know how many there are. There might be too many. 1 unit might not be enough. I would just have to wait for them to exhaust their ammunition and come fight me in melee. It would take a long time. It would be a problem. I'd rather just move around and scout a little bit. I'm finding some other decent places to put towns, which is nice for the future. So we've completed construction of our granary. Next, in order to fight that unrest, I might want to build a shrine next. But actually, let me see. I have 2 extra food. So I think now that I have a little bit more growth, I'm going to take the time to build a couple of extra spearmen. Now, since I do have 9 mana income, and my mana is going up pretty quickly, I could summon some troops. First of all, I think I'm going to summon a magic spirit. It'll take me 2 turns, because once again, that costs more than my magic skill is. But oh, no, I guess it only took me 1. So we've now got a magic spirit. Magic spirits are fast-flying units, so I can send him out to scout. That's another lair that I'm going to explore. There are gorgons inside it. I am going to avoid them like the plague, which they might as well be. And we're just going to take some time to scout around while I'm building up some extra spearmen. What's in there? An earth elemental. We're also going to avoid that. Earth elementals are pretty high-level units. That's a Guardian Spirit. Guardian Spirits are a little scary, but not super scary. So if that was the only thing there, that would probably be okay. We'll have a unit of Spearmen in one turn. Okay, now we've got some Spearmen. Why am I losing gold at this point? Granary, because my granary takes gold to maintain, my smithy, and my builder's hall. That should give me 1 extra gold. My swordsman... my swordsman costs 2 gold to upkeep. Okay. So... let's start summoning some ghouls. Because I'm losing a little bit of money, which is not great. Since I am an alchemist, I can transmute mana into gold, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But it's not the best. I'm gonna build a marketplace, which will increase my income by 50%. Should give me an extra gold. Yeah, let's do that next. Actually, let's build a settler next. That will send me way negative on gold for a while. No, let's get the marketplace first. I need my population to grow a little while before I do that. So why don't you come down here? Because I want to see if we can take this little tower here, especially with my other spearmen to join. Let's get down there. You kind of explore around a little bit while we're waiting. You just patrol for a bit. Okay, move up there. And you're both done. Okay, let's take these 3 units in here and see what we can do in this ancient temple. So yes, it is 1 Guardian Spirit. So this is the combat screen. It is, of course, turn-based combat. I have my 3 units here, my enemy unit right there. I can look at his stats. He has resistance to everything. So he has resistance. His resistance is increased by 1. Resistance is very high for this Guardian Spirit, 11. His melee attack is very high, but of course he only gets 1 attack because it's only 1 model. And his armor is okay, but not fantastic. His hit points are high. He has 10 hit points. But I think we can take him. So we're going to advance our swordsman, and my magic spirit's going to kind of split off a little bit. Spell-wise, I could cast Cloak of Fear, but since he has such high resistance, it probably wouldn't actually help me. So we're going to have the Guardian Spirit move in. We're going to engage him. You can see we're doing quite a bit of damage, actually. He's down to half health. Let's wait, have the Spearman attack as well, and the Guardian Spirit is dead. We are triumphant. So in this tower, we found 50 bucks, which isn't bad. I'll take 50 bucks any day. Now I have summoned my ghouls, and ghouls are a really cool unit. Stat-wise, they're not terribly impressive compared to the trolls, but they have +1 to hit, so they're slightly more accurate. They're immune to a whole bunch of things. They have poison, which means anyone they attack has to pass a resistance roll as well as everything else. And they have Create Undead. Any unit that they kill is raised after the battle as an undead unit under my control. And that is just a fantastic ability. So we're going to move them out, and we're going to try and take out this lair, which is full of sprites, I believe. And I don't know how many, but we will find out. So we're still losing 1 gold per turn. I'm going to buy the marketplace. That should stop the hemorrhaging. And this army is going to move in here to fight these sprites. So it's only 1 unit of sprites, which is good. Sprites get 3 shots of their magical attack. They have a 3-point ranged magical attack. They have +1 to hit. Otherwise, their stats are not impressive. And once they've used up their 3 spells, they are pretty much defenseless. What I have to do is I have to keep my magic spirit alive because it is a flying unit. And it is indeed what they are shooting at. So that's their 3 spells. The magic spirit is still alive. At this point, I think I've got them. So we're just going to turn this on to auto. They came into melee attack and lost. So inside, ooh, that's fantastic. We found 100 mana and a summon hero spell. So, we just learned the spell Summon Hero for free. Now, it costs 300 mana, and they will cost maintenance. But, we can use that spell to summon a hero that will then work for us. However, I am just going to cast ghouls again because I love ghouls, and we are now built up to the point where we have a pretty decent army. So my army has grown, my town rather, has grown in size and also got the marketplace. I'm up to +2 gold, and just in time because once again I'm getting some unrest. So at this point, I need to build a shrine. It will cost me a point of gold in maintenance, but it will generate mana and it will reduce the unrest level so that this guy will actually do something with his worthless life. Right now, he's a rebel. He produces nothing, and he's not giving me any tax money. So we're going to have to build the shrine to deal with him. This little army, I don't want to deal with that. Wasn't there, like, something terrible in there? Well, let's see, actually. Yes, there was an earth elemental in there. I don't want to deal with that. Then what was... I thought the earth elemental was in this little thingy. Okay, summoned another unit of ghouls. We'll send them up that way. You do have to keep at least one unit at home, because otherwise you will be attacked by things. There are Gorgons in this lair. Now, Gorgons can paralyze, but some of my units are immune to that. Let's try it. Let's see how many Gorgons there are. There are a couple of Gorgons and also some giant spiders, so this was awful. So the way stoning happens is before they get into melee combat, they get a free attack that makes all enemies resist or be paralyzed forever. So we're just going to run away. Yep, we're just going to run. I lost a spearman and my ghoul, but that's fine. My magic spirit and my swordsman got away. So, still okay. I'm positive on food. I'm doing all right. I did lose a unit of ghouls, but I can get ghouls back really, really easily. So those two layers are too tough to attack right now. Let's move up this way and see about this layer. There's another earth elemental in there, so that's also a bad target, unfortunately. Let's keep exploring around a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna separate off the magic spirit because he can explore faster alone, while the swordsmen move back towards the town, just to kind of be sure we can keep it safe. Most of my army, I think, in the early stages of the game is going to be summoned ghouls, because they're cheap in terms of upkeep. They do cost quite an amount of mana to summon originally, but they only cost 1 per turn to keep up, which makes them very, very easy to mass. So we've got our ghouls there. They will join the party. We'll wait for them right there. Have the magic spirit kind of scout around. Lots of swamps up this way, which isn't great. You join that army. Down here, as soon as this shrine is done, I think I'm going to build some settlers and send them out to start an outpost. I am very much short on gold at the moment. There's 2 other lairs up that way. Let's see what's in that one. Nothing! I found a mysterious cave, and I found terror. Just gonna skip through that little doohickey there. So now I can look at the apprentice. He can tell me I'm researching skeletons at the moment. And spell-wise, oh, where can I find? It's in one of the combat. It's one of my combat spells. It's kind of hard to actually find. But basically, there it is. Unit spells, terror, yes. An enemy unit must resist or do nothing every combat turn. Costs 20 to cast in combat. So I'm just continuing to explore at the moment. There's a stone giant there that I don't want to fight. On Mirror, many lairs are occupied by things that you just don't want to fight. It's a problem sometimes. But it'll pay off because trolls are really, really cool in the late game. What's in there? Warbears. I can take on some warbears, I think. Yeah, it's only 1 unit of warbears. I can take them. In fact, I might be able to undead them. Actually, you wait. I want my ghouls to finish them off. There we go. We found 110 gold. I didn't get the warbears, though, which is unfortunate. Oh, because they're fantastic creatures. They can't be turned into undead. Shoot. Oh well. I'm going to buy this shrine in order to fix my problems. Now this is a nature node. So this is a source of magical energy. I'm going to scout it. There is a great worm inside, which is a very, very high level nature creature. I absolutely cannot take on a great worm right now, so I'm not going to try. We've got our shrine now, which means we're producing a little bit more in terms of food and money. If I do that, am I still positive on food? Yes, but I'm not positive in gold. But I do have more production. So we will take that production to make... A farmer's market would be nice. Trade goods. Convert production to gold, so that would give me 5 gold per turn. But actually, it's housing that is the long-term increaser, because every extra unit of population, of course, makes you more money. So we're going to switch over to housing. I'm at 5,800. As soon as I get up to 6,000, I'll get another unit of population. That'll only be about 3 turns. This army, meanwhile, can come down this way. And continue to look around. I'm back up to 100 mana, so I'm going to summon yet more ghouls. There is a neutral town. It is a hamlet of dwarves guarded by 6 units of halberdiers. Halberdiers are second-tier troops. They're better than spearmen and swordsmen. However, dwarven halberdiers do not, I think, enjoy a significant advantage over troll swordsmen, especially because my troll swordsmen are now regulars, and they've buffed up their attack stat. My ghouls should also be able to take on halberdiers in an okay manner. I'm going to wait until I summon some more ghouls and send them down to join the army before I attack, however. So Generalton is now up to population 6. I am making positive 2 gold. And so I will switch over to create a farmer's market, which gives me an extra 3 food and 30 people per turn. Actually, I'm going to build my settlers now. They'll take 13 turns, but it'll be worth it. This army is going to come down to threaten the hamlet of Aelirth. Aelirth is connected by a magical road network. All roads on Mirror are magical, as opposed to the standard roads, which means that they take no move points to move across. So that means there should be other towns somewhere nearby. It does still take points for flying units like magic spirits, unfortunately. So I've got another unit of ghouls. I'm gonna send them down to join the party. You all just wait for now. Let's keep exploring. There's another hamlet down here guarded by 4 swordsmen. That is actually the better target at the moment, so I'm going to attack them immediately. So we can look at these Dwarven Swordsmen. Dwarven Swordsmen, they are regulars. They have 4 melee. They do have 3 hit points each, so they actually have quite a few hit points. However, their 4 melee is significantly less impressive than my 6 magical melee attack. It's about even with my ghouls. They do have more models than my ghouls per unit, so that could be a problem. Spell-wise, I do have 20 skill, and I also have terror. What is their resistance? Their resistance is 10. Dwarves are quite magic resistance. 5. Well, his resistance is only 8. His resistance is 9 because he's a regular. And he's a regular, and he's a recruit. So terror might actually... Well, they get a +1 bonus, though. So I think instead, Cloak of Fear is the best bet, and I'm going to cast it onto my Troll Swordsman. We're going to maneuver up in this direction to try and engage the enemy piecemeal. Okay, good. Let's get an attack in. About even honors so far. There we go. Now we're doing some damage. Okay, so we took some hits on our swordsman, but our swordsman can, of course, regenerate. So as long as they don't get into more combat, they'll be fine. Until they've healed up a little bit, they'll be fine. So my ghouls, meanwhile, I have 8 skill left, which means I can't kill anything. Let's get the ghouls in on these swordsmen. These trollish swordsmen can attack them and do some damage. And then these ghouls can try and finish that unit off. Okay, so we're not doing great, but we're not doing terribly either. Let's get these ghouls to attack them, take out a couple more of them. This trollish swordsman should run back to spend some time regenerating. Let's finish off that unit, do some damage to them. We are losing some of our ghouls, but that's okay. At this point, this troll swordsman can actually kite a little bit, because he has 4 hits. And he can just regenerate back up to 4 hits, and I'll start regenerating models as well. Also, this ghoul might just straight up win. And that ghoul straight up won. We do not wish to just completely destroy this city. We gained a point of fame from winning the battle, and we took 19 gold pieces. We also raised 4 units from the dead. So this is the power of ghouls. All of these Dwarven Swordsmen are now Death Swordsmen in my service that cost no upkeep. They are undead, they have all the immunities and vulnerabilities of death creatures, they're not fantastic creatures, so they do not have a higher maintenance cost. The vulnerabilities and resistances of death creatures are poison, illusions, cold, and death, so they're immune to a whole list of stuff. Also, my troll swordsmen, who are regulars, have now fully regenerated because I won the battle. So, dwarves are excellent workers, which means I get extra production here. So I am, first of all, immediately going to build a granary to buff up my population growth, because growth here is at 0. For some reason. Yeah, let's do that. And then, I can take some of the units of my new Army of the Dead, and I can use them to expand further. Like, for example, this hamlet here, I can take these ghouls, add them to these ghouls and these swordsmen, and go on a rampage. But I'll do that in the next turn. I think this is a decent place to stop for now. So, we have started our new destructive rampage across Mirror. We've taken one town, we're about to take another pretty quickly, and soon enough we will start settling our own towns, taking advantage of some of these magical ores and such that we have around here. Iron ore reduces unit costs, silver ore gives me extra money, gold ore gives me a whole bunch of extra money, adamantium gives me extra power. All this good stuff. But that'll all have to wait till next time. I hope y'all enjoy this. I really love this game. I know the graphics are, DOS era, and the strategy can be a little simple sometimes, but honestly, I think it's a good one. This is one of the real old classics, and I just love it to bits, and hopefully you all do too. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.